Hello, thank you for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela. Civil-military relations play a pivotal role in the smooth relationship between the civilian population and the military personnel in any country. And Nigerian military has not relented in building that relationship. However, how well this relationship goes depends greatly on the effective oversight of the military. As the military continues to play its role in defending the territorial integrity of the nation against external aggression or evasion, this is where the role of civilians in cooperating with the military without fear or clash of interests becomes crucial. Now, despite the fundamental role of the armed forces, their relationship with the civilians have been one that has posed concerns. Now, the question often asked is, where does the balance lie between civil and military relations, especially in the areas of rules of engagement? The need to bridge gaps by interacting adequately to build common interests between both parties is critical for national development and for maintaining peace and stability across the country. However, there are challenges in building these relations, especially in areas where there are existing conflicts or tensions. And some experts say one way to address these challenges is through deliberate and consistent community engagement by the military and security forces to build that trust between the security forces and communities. On Platform today, our focus will be on ways to improve civil-military relations in Nigeria. And our guest is Rear Admiral Olusonya Bankole. He is the Chief of Defense Civil-Military Relations at the Defense Headquarters here in Abuja. Thank you very much for joining us, Rear Admiral.
Ruth, I want to say a very thank you to you and Ismail for having us on this program. I will also want to extend the felicitations of my principal, the Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Gwabi Musa, and to extend congratulations for the good work you do in nation building and disseminating the right information.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. So let's let you in on his profile. Rear Admiral Olusonya Bankole was formerly the Chief of Communications and Information Technology, Naval Headquarters Abuja, and Commanding Officer of the Nigerian Navy flagship Aradu. Rear Admiral Bankole has attended several military courses, some of which include the junior and senior staff courses at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, as well as the Strategic and Defense course at the National Defense College, Bangladesh. He has coordinated several exercises of the Nigerian Navy and was an officer in tactical command of several multinational exercises, including exercise Obangame Express and exercise Grand Africa Nemo, featuring ships from the U.S., British, Spanish, and French navies. Rear Admiral Bankole holds a bachelor degree in chemistry from the Nigerian Defense Academy, master degree in public administration, and also master in security and development studies from Bangladesh University of Professionals. In addition, he has obtained graduate certificate in maritime studies from the Australian National Centre for Ocean Resources and Security, University of Wollongong, Australia. Well, he has several publications and international journals to his credit. Well done, Rear Admiral.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's bring in our panelist, Ismail Musa. We call him our own GOC here in NTA, the defense correspondent for the Nigerian Television Authority. Thank you so much, Ismail.
Ruth, it's a pleasure having me on Platform.
Great. So, Rear Admiral, when we're talking ways of improving civil-military relations, it's very crucial if we're talking the stability and national development of any nation. If you want to paint a picture for Nigeria, what would be your summary?
Oh, thank you once again. I think I'll start. Let me just give a background of what civil-military relations
Fantastic.
is. Civil relations basically is the relationship between the civilians and the military. Is based on three strata. First one, the Constitution of Nigeria gives civilian authority oversight over military. That is why there are oversight functions by the legislature over the military. That is why the Chief of Defense Staff is operationally responsible to the President and Commander-in-Chief, is administratively responsible to the Honorable Minister of Defense. That is the first strata, that is civilian oversight of the military. The second strata is what they call aid to civil power or aid to civil authority. That is when the President Commander-in-Chief gives a directive for the military to aid civil authority. What we are doing now in our different theaters of operation, like in Maiduguri, in Enugu, everywhere, is a directive from the President to the Chief of Defense Staff to quell banditry and other things. So that is aid to civil authority for against banditry. They could also do aid during for disaster relief. Or for example, in 2024, during the flooding in Maiduguri, the military was drafted in because that was the only way they could move. The military had to do that. The same thing happened in Yenagoa in 2023, while the military, the Navy, had to ferry people. And also we see this aid during elections, while the Air Force has to transport electionary materials by air, the Navy by sea. And so those are aid to civil authorities. That's the second strata of civil-military relations. The third strata, which I'm probably more particular about, is what they call civil-military cooperation. That is where we cooperate and impact directly with the civilian populace. Unfortunately, since 2009 thereabout, we have been fighting insurgency, banditry, and we have had to operate in deep civilian population. So we have to be very close to civilians, like the civilians are the major source of intelligence for the military. So now there's a need for us to cooperate with them in order to aid our operations. That is why we now introduce military schools, we have military hospitals, we do boreholes, we do solar lighting systems, we do a lot of things. The idea is that while you are operating there, you want to win the hearts and minds of the people you are operating. We do a lot of community engagements. That is what we call civil military corporations. So CMR, civil military relations, is on that three strata. That is one, the oversight functions as enshrined in the Constitution. The other one is aid to civil authority or aid to civil powers directed by the presidency. The third one is what they call civil military cooperation, civil military interaction, civil military engagements. So those are the three. Yeah.
Okay,
so,
I'm sure there's a lot we'll break down in the course of the conversation.
Okay.
Ismail, please go ahead.
You seem to do a lot to win the hearts and minds of the people you work for. Now tell me, where's the knowledge gap that do lead to the civilians instead of aligning with the military who are out to protect them? In some cases, you see them trying to align with the criminals who are never with them.
Okay, let me give a background to some of those things. Between 1967 and 70, there was a civil war, and after that, there has been a lot of infractions, military infractions. So there has been that issue of force, and that is what narrative has been created over the years. That okay, when you see a military man, is very forceful, is somebody that doesn't like you, is somebody that. But now those narratives are changing now. Now we found ourselves that the military itself, and also let me just, military recruitment for Nigeria is not from Ghana. They recruit from different environments. Like me, I was recruited from Ota in Ogun State. And so that means we are recruited from the environment. We are part of the environment. Our intelligence is from the environment. So there is a need for a lot of sensitization to know that these military people, they are part of you. These military people are your people. These military people tend to protect you. So where the gaps are is that, one, there is that kind of ignorance that a lot of people think the military is we against them. Then secondly, we need to reach out to, when there is absence of, they call it ungoverned spaces, when there's a lot of ungoverned spaces, when there's in far-reach local governments where there's no police station, so people tend to be on their own. So the military needs to try that. That's why we try to get to sensitize the people that, yes, we are an instrument of government. I used to tell people it is the taxpayers' money that they use to pay the military and all other services. So where there are gaps, there are going to be sensitization activities. And this sensitization thing is not only within the military. The Chief of Defense Staff used to normally say that it is a whole-of-government approach. That means the National Orientation Agency, programs like this with the NTA, local governments, down to community leaders, need to educate our men that this armed forces is the Nigerian armed forces. We are here to protect civilians and protect civilian infrastructure, and we are part of them.
Well, Rear Admiral, it's one thing to carry out these engagements. It's another thing to speak to these communities in the language they understand. You want to build that trust, especially in conflict-affected communities. What other strategy are you deploying?
I'll tell you a small story.
Okay.
Sometimes in Maiduguri, I think it was in 2021, the Nigerian Air Force did a medical event. And there was an elderly woman that was given glasses. They did eye surgery. I think they did cataract surgery for her, and they gave her glasses. So when her son came to visit her, the son had actually been tried to be radicalized by Boko Haram. So when the woman came, she was speaking outside, talking to her son that that. So she took pictures of the people that when they were doing the surgery. So when she showed her son, the son said, "Ma, these are the people they said they are our enemies." She said, "No, they are our friends. They are the people that restored my sight." Now, it is because of ignorance. Yeah. Now we are sensitizing people. That's why you see the military now goes, they do different things in communities, just to show that we are part of government. We remain relevant as an instrument of government to protect people. Where they are out to reach areas, for example, another thing is sensitizing children, out of school children. Because
they're easily used as tools.
Yes. Now, the CDS sent up a sensitization committee. We are going to different communities, and we are partnering with the National Orientation Agency, because we were told the National Orientation Agency has offices in 774 local governments. Now, the idea is to educate people on the effect of this radicalization, because no matter the kind of technology you use, if you see a 7 or 8-year-old girl or 6-year-old girl that is being strapped with improvised explosive device, and she says she works, she doesn't know what that is.
Yes.
And that is why we are trying to get the sensitization right now to the grassroots, working with governments, working with local governments, working with different agencies, just like I mentioned, the National Orientation Agency, to let us know.
What about civil society groups?
And the civil society groups. We're having different, and also, for example, in Defense Headquarters last week, I think one of your, when it was there, we had sensitization. We're sensitizing the media more, that it is not a we against them. It is our military. We need to make our military succeed. We need to give them all the cooperation. There are gaps, but those gaps are work in progress. You understand? A lot of things that has happened since the Civil War, but with the trajectory now, and with what the Chief of Defense Staff is currently doing, we are trying to win hearts and minds. And the CDS makes sure that at every level of governance, even from the strategic level, there's rapid communication. That's why he allowed me to come for this kind of program, that we communicate with people. These are what we're doing. We communicate with the political elites. This is what the military is doing. We communicate with the market women. This is what the military is doing, so that they will know, because some of these things is out of ignorance.
Yeah.
They once you sensitize them that this is the real thing, they will know that the military is actually a partner in progress, and you want to work with the military, because working with the military is securing yourself. And also you will note that even this year, the CDS directed some of the operations, the ones in the northeast and northwest, to escort farmers to farm. You understand? So because food security is key. And,
Yeah.
you know, security, there is food security, there is health security. So once there is food, once there is education, once there is health, it's those focal areas of the Sustainable Development Goals that we are trying to see how we can impact directly as representing government. That's what we're doing.
The CIMIC project seems to be part of your non-kinetic approach to winning the hearts and minds of the people. Now look at it, so Nigeria having 774 local government. Tell me, how do you arrive at a particular community that you feel deserve a given project?
Okay, Ismail, I will recall that out of the 774 local governments in Nigeria, I think almost 6 over 8 of them, they have one kind of military presence or the other. And what we know is that in all this kind of asymmetric warfare we are fighting now, the kinetic aspect, in fact, the CDS said the kinetic aspect is just about 30%. The non-kinetic aspect is about 70%. And he also went further to say, for you to win the non-kinetic aspect, it's not only the military. The military does the kinetic, we do part of the non-kinetic aspect through sensitization, but all areas of governance need to do the remaining 70% of this. So what happens is that anywhere we operate, for example, if there is no water, we try and dig a borehole. If there's no light, we'll try and do solar lighting systems and all those things. We identify, even there has been experiences where the military has built bridges across communities. Now, the example I told you that they escort people to farm. So we identify the point of need of the community, and we try and solve that as an instrument of government. So that is what we'll do. And also now in the military at a particular rank, because what we feel that, okay, when you get to, after you have served the military for some time, you retire back to your communities. So the military has now empowered you that, okay, even if it is a classroom, you're able to build depending on the need of that community.
Yeah.
So that you can go back to that community and the community know that you are part of them. So if it is a block of classrooms you can build, if it is a sick bay or a kind of medical center, if it is water you can provide. And all the services are doing that. There are a lot of commissioning of projects by people, senior military officers that are being funded by the services, by the Army, by the Navy, by the Air Force. The idea is we want to close that gap of open spaces, not governance space. We want to bring governance to your communities. So you identify what your community needs the most, and the military tries to help you to fill the gap.
Okay, Rear Admiral, you make it sound like the relationship has been going so smooth.
It's not really very smooth.
Okay.
I said it is work in progress.
Okay,
It
fantastic.
is work in progress.
But this is where I'm headed. I know that there are other areas that maybe, you know, where there's intense hostilities, you're not able to carry out this community engagement. Can you share with us some of those instances that may have hindered, you know, this strategic partnership we're talking about?
Now, there can be development without peace.
Yes.
And now there are some areas that we have banditry, terrorism, that people cannot go to the markets. So for you to even to be able to carry out a non-kinetic thing, the kinetic ones has to go first. There needs to be boots on ground to weed out terrorists and bandits. My CDS used to say that he doesn't like to say he wants to win the war. He wants to weed out the bandits to aid development. So he will tell you that he wants to sustain the peace of that thing. So for you to be able to sustain the peace, there's a need for a clearance operation of the bandits. And I may shock you to know that even there is a place in Maiduguri, in Giwa, there are about 1,000, almost close to 1,600 repentant bandits. Now, there are a lot of insurgents that are being weeded out. Unfortunately, during that too, we lose some casualties. But the idea is that the military has sworn that the territorial integrity of Nigeria, either by land or by sea or by air, is protected. So those who want to infringe on that, the military and the other services need to face them. Now, when we have gone that phase, that okay, we have cleared an area, that the area is now suitable for economic activities. That's where you can now start thinking of non-kinetic activities, non-kinetic.
Well, you made a salient point when you mentioned sometimes when you have to go with the kinetic approach, there are casualties from this. Of course. So we've also seen situations whereby there are accidental discharge, where some communities get affected in the process of this kinetic approach. So how do you redeem that trust in such affected community when that happens?
Okay. I'll tell you where there are a lot of collateral damages also, because some of these bandits and insurgents coerce the people to stay with them because they know the military is with them. So they force them to stay with them. So in an effort to do that, there might be collateral damages. But also, there are things where there are mistakes, which the military does admit when there are mistakes. So it's this issue of asymmetric warfare, it goes which way, you understand? For example, a 6-year-old girl walks into the studio now in Maiduguri or in Katsina. You don't want to shoot a 6-year-old girl. Yeah. But the 6-year-old girl is laden with an IED. So what do you do? So that's why you say commander's instincts on the ground. Yes, there are times there are mistakes, which the CDS does admit it. But, it's something that we try to minimize so much. And also now, there are civil military operations officers that are incorporated to the front. You understand? First of all, to show empathy, to give assurance, and to sensitize these people that these insurgents that you think are your friends, they are not your friends. Deassociate yourself from them. So most of the times when there are those casualties is because the insurgents are either coerce those people, or the people out of ignorance think these are our saviors. So I think that is what.
In the course of your explanation, you mentioned the existence of several number of repentant bandits.
Yes.
I believe terrorists also in the Giwa Barrack.
Yes.
I'm also aware of several number of repentant terrorists at the Babasidi Operation Safe Corridor camp in Gombe. Now, knowledge gap is attributed to challenges you have in your ongoing non-kinetic operations. Now tell me, there's this belief that some of those repentant terrorists or bandits in the Babasidi Safe Corridor camp in Gombe are being recycled into the military.
Okay.
You want to clarify that?
Okay, I will clarify, and I'll probably give a background on why the Operation Safe Corridor. There are a lot of
mystery.
Bandit insurgents. Some come in with arms and say they are repentant bandits. So what the military does is they are profiled by the military intelligence, or profiled. A lot of them, women.
Please, can you explain what that process of profiling
means? They check their history. They check their history. What are the things they are doing? Do they have any record of criminality? Work with Interpol. What are the things they are doing? What is their history up to this point?
Separating the low risk.
Yes. So what we do is that when we profile them, we separate the low risk from the high risk people. The military, because of international humanitarian laws, human rights laws, you just don't say you want to kill people. Once somebody comes and says he's a repentant Boko Haram, even if he's the head of Boko Haram, the international humanitarian laws give the person a kind of protection. So they are profiled.
So in this context, what does low risk refers to?
Low risk means that the person, the ability for him to be used as because some of them are also sources of intelligence for the bad guys. Yes. You understand? So we try and profile them, monitor them. We check their families, their family histories. Who are the people there? So anyone that you see that was either coerced and you think I may not be able to go back to that place, we take them. So there's what they call reintegration, re-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration. It's a complex process. It's handled by the Office of the National Security Advisor. Now, the idea is this: we want to radicalize them. What is their thinking? For example, they are told that if you kill a soldier, you go to heaven, you have 40 virgins waiting for you, and all those things. Then those are the things you need. So we call the imams, the religious leaders, to try and sensitize them on the right religion, that what they are actually carrying out is a false doctrine. So what you do is you re-radicalize them, change their radical thinking. Those who came with Amsterdam re-radicalize that there are ways they
That's
can...
counseling.
Yes, counseling. That's another word, counseling. You counsel them. Then after that, when you radicalize them, then there's you rehabilitate them. The NSA and the military, they spend a lot of money on rehabilitating people because you need to feed them. Imagine feeding in different camps. And this thing starts even within the IDP camps. They pick people, low-risk people.
Because they're vulnerable.
Because they are vulnerable. So we'll try to rehabilitate them. And after that, we try to reintegrate them back into the society. Now, that is the complex part. Because, number one, some of the society don't even want them back because they suspect that. So it's something that the Office of the NSA is really, it's really a complex work they're doing. They have people, they have counselors, they have therapists, they have a lot of things. So that is another thing that we're doing to bring them back, integrate them back into society. I know you have rumors that, okay, some of them end up joining the military.
Yeah.
Now, it's still part of, even during recruitments, there are a lot of profiling. But he's also Ismail, let's assume, let's face the fact now. This is a repentant Boko Haram. And he says, and he's a Nigerian. For example, he's from Yobe State, and he wants to join the military. And you find out that he's actually a repentant Boko Haram. Do you deny him the opportunity? But the challenge now is that some of them still go and they now act as informant. That's why I said it's a very complex.
It's complex. But what about the aspect, Rear Admiral, of looking at the CJTF, the Civilian Joint Task Force? Because there you also have community people who provide these services and support the military. So is that another option they can be given? I'm not saying the military shouldn't do its thing of recruiting if there's a need.
Yeah.
But the CJTF,
okay,
how is that working?
Now, the Community Joint Task Force, they are...
The civilian
Joint Task Force, they are key to our operations.
Okay.
One, because they know the terrain, they know the people, they know the bad people, and they know the terrain.
And they speak the language.
And they speak the language, you understand? And they know when things want to happen. So they are part and parcel of our operations, you understand? You see, the thing is that both the Civilian Joint Task Force and these repentant bandits, it's a cycle that if it is well integrated, it will work for the military. It will work for peace and progress. Some of these Civilian Joint Task Force guys, most of them even go to the front with our troops. And they've been very, very effective. They've been very, very effective. And most of them too, you know, they are high risk because the people in that community know that they are CGTF, so they want to get rid of them. So the military has to protect them, and also, so it's both that CJTF route for repentant bandits, and if you are really repentant, for example, a 12-year-old guy that maybe was coerced to, after a while, recruitment age to the military is 18.
Yeah.
If over 6 years it's been monitored, he goes to school, and we'll find out he is on a clean slate. Another thing that the CDS is trying to do now is just that the military is really stretched.
Okay.
What we are trying to do now is that even in those theaters of operation, there are some people that probably can teach. They have the flair to teach. They have the flair for guidance and counseling. They have the flair for career counseling. As soldiers, they were able to impact that because the youth will respect them in uniform.
Yes.
Teaching them, they want them to go. So that's another thing that the CDS is working on to try and it's called troops to teachers and veterans to teachers, because we think what he sees is that by then they are troops, they will teach. So by then when they are leaving, they will get veterans to teach using IDP camps. The idea is to bring the knowledge down to the grassroots.
Okay, let's take a break now, Rear Admiral. We'll have to pick up the conversation. That is after the break. Do stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. The conversation is improving civil-military relations in Nigeria. Rear Admiral, you just spoke to us about the role of the CJTF in supporting the military, but I'm sure Ismail has a follow-up to that.
Yeah, thank you, General.
Me, General. You
are
are the
General
General.
Bankole. One of the concerns of the people I was opportune to have interacted with in the various IDP camps in the Northeast is the fact that they are the victims of the terrorists. But coincidentally, they said they are languishing in dilapidated conditions, while the terrorists are flown in choppers to Baba City camps. They take Jews and they take fee. Now, in addition to that, do you have adequate monitoring mechanism to track the activities of those reintegrated terrorists back into their society? How do you monitor their activities?
Ismail, that's a good question, but I will also note that there's just a bit the military can do.
Okay.
This thing is a whole-of-government approach. Some of the governors are doing very, very well to aid in this issue of reintegration. Now, the ones people going to Baba City camps are people that feel, okay, are repentant terrorists that they need to be profiled and monitored for a while. Some of them stay there 12 months, 14 months, just monitoring them, monitoring their interactions and this thing. So, you see, the military, we're in like 35 states out of 37 carrying out operations. There's a lot of stress on the military.
Are they overwhelmed?
The military is without the military, because right now you go for an operation 6 months. You're supposed to be withdrawn after 6 months because of PTSD, and so that I can, because we have families, and you go, you may not be returned within 6 months because of the pressure of those operations. Maybe you stay there 8 months, 1 year. You go back home, within a month, you are drafted to another place. You understand? But you see, these people have families. These people have flesh and blood. That's why I used to tell people, number one, pray for the Nigerian military. Yeah. Respect the Nigerian military. Yes, there are a lot of gaps, but those gaps are things that... So what we are trying to do now is that once the military is able to secure a place, governance, effective governance comes in. Once there is proper governance up to the local government community levels, they are able to engage directly with those people. You see, most of those camps you are talking about, they're still like the Giwa camp, the Babadi camps, they are very, it has been, because you have to be feeding almost 2,000 people every day. You have to be feeding them,
medical care,
providing, you understand, and providing medical support for them. And also, not to talk of the IDP camps. So if you go to Medjugorje, a lot of different IDP camps, and these people have to be sustained. These people have to find a way to integrate back to the society. There's much the military can do. That is why it is a whole of governance thing, up to community leaders, the leadership in communities. Let's see how we can support the government to do some of these things. So some of the stories about giving Jews and whatever, I don't know. Ismail, were you there? so
Allegedly.
That would be a discussion. That would be a
If
discussion.
you are there, then maybe I'll now say, okay. But you see, because the truth is this: even the soldier that is fighting the war, I know the CDS is fighting thick and thin to even improve
Welfare.
the welfare of the soldier. So you can imagine that, okay, you are feeding a soldier 1,000 naira for a day. How many meals will that? You understand? So when you now talk about juice, maybe you brought the juice to. But right now we are trying to improve the welfare of soldiers. As much as we try to improve the welfare of soldiers, the Nigerian economy is going through a lot of reintegration. Let me just put it that way. So by the time things get better, maybe the welfare of the soldier will be better.
Okay.
But we'll try a bit.
Talking about this non-kinetic approach, what is similarities between the Borno model and what you people are doing at the Babasidi camp?
What started in Giwa project in Borno was the initial part. You understand? There was when there were so many.
The Giwa barracks and the Hatch camp.
Yes.
Are they the same place? Are they doing the same thing?
They are doing the same thing, but it's just an overflow. So what they do now, they now profile high risk, medium risk, whatever. The idea is because there was a time that there were too many people in that Giwa, so that we will not even have health disasters or something. So, even there was a time there was a plan to ship them to different places. Some states said, don't bring them to us and whatever. So we just find a way to, so they're doing the same
which
thing.
brings me to my next question based on what you have shared regarding support. You've been hitting on Maiduguri, Borno, the kind of support and all of that, which is good. But you're not telling us the kind of synergy you're getting from other state governments, because these concerns cuts across every part of the country.
Okay, maybe I emphasized on the Maiduguri and Borno because that was like the epicenter, and the governor was quite visible in most of the things he was doing. Other governors do still relate with the military to show support to the military. So maybe I just mentioned, for example, we have Operation Fasahiyama now in Sokoto. They are doing well. They're enjoying some kind of support from governors. Even Operation Udoka, some of the governors are trying to, because the thing is this, the favor you are doing is not to the military, you are doing the favor to your people and to bring sustenance to your people.
You know why I asked that question?
Yeah.
When you said the military is overwhelmed, even in the aspect of providing the necessary welfare for these people, so in the aspect of providing that to ease the burden of the military, what they need.
Most of the governors will have to earn support, because these are your people. These are your local communities. You need to find a way to support the military to do their jobs in that. And not only the military and all the other agencies, because there are a lot of agencies, the DSS, the police, and go. So most of the governors will want to show support, because showing support, you're actually helping yourself.
When you say we'll want to, it's not in place or in place?
So some of them are showing support.
Okay.
Some of them are showing support because it's all part of governance. It's all part of governance. You show support to your people, and because it's part of, just like I said during the introduction, I said it is because of non-governed spaces that is what brings out these issues of radicalization. So if governance reaches the grassroots, and the grassroots are well educated, are well sensitized, I think this thing will.
There's another aspect in the area of intelligence gathering. When you engage communities, some of the benefits you get, tell us how that has helped.
The societies are cooperating, and that is why the military sometimes, in reciprocation, tries to do community impact projects. The idea is that we want to show the communities that we are part of them. So in doing that, we try to say, okay, it's a collective decision to secure them. So they will give intelligence to the military. For example, if there is a community that lacks water, or if there's a community, you escort their farmers to farm, they will show a kind of allegiance to the military. We're just trying to, in far-flung areas, just to try to show governance at those microbiotic level too. That is what we are doing. So the community response. That's why I also mentioned the issue of the Civilian Joint Task Force. They're part of the community. The Obas, the Emirs, the OBs, they have intelligence. They are part of the community. So in order to bring peace to the community, they need to work with the military and the police and all the other agencies.
Okay. Your civic activities during the Borno flood was commendable. What do you attribute that to?
Now, it's also part of our duty. Okay. We call it aid to civil authority, and also disaster relief. The military, as you may know, are one of the first responders to any major natural disaster, either flooding, earthquake, because military, they have earth-moving equipment. They have, for example, there was a video, Meduguri last year. It was the military that had to ferry even the legislators when they came for oversight. They had to ferry them by trucks because no vehicle was able to move. So those are parts of what we do. There is a military officer even with National Emergency, NEMA. So that is part of our training, flood and relief disaster.
I know a military man is trained. It has his own orientation as an army, right? But engaging with civilians, it's a different ballgame. It needs reorientation in your rules of engagement. So are they being, trained in that aspect? Especially, we've had situations of human rights, violations and all of that. And also the CJTF, sometimes there's been reports, allegedly, there's been concerns, for the CJTF, how they overstep their boundary because of the powers given to them. And they become overzealous. Instead of providing that peace, they're meant to provide for communities, they're creating havoc. So is there a form of reorientation, going on to make them understand that these are civilians, these are people who are vulnerable you're dealing with in your rules of engagement?
I think it's just a matter of sensitization the classroom. I will give you a very funny example. If I'm in a car with a friend of mine and maybe there is traffic, I say, our guys in the car, take one way. I will be the person that says, no, we have to take one way because I'm in the car. I say, no, this man is, you understand. So it's a lot of sensitization, re-education, retraining, you understand? And without any fear of being, the level of training they give in the military now, from the depot in Zaria for recruits for the NTA up till now, even right now, even me as a two-star, there's still a lot of training I still attend. Like 2 weeks ago, we had a training on human rights, human security, which was facilitated by the British Defence Team. So at every area, we try to sensitize our men. I'm not saying we're 100% because, what has been, for example, a military man feels, okay, he has the right of way, whether there is traffic, whatever. But, with time, things will go down. But the truth is that the military are sworn constitutionally to defend civilians, to defend civilian infrastructure, to defend the country by land, air, or sea. Whatever training is required, the military has exposed a lot of people to training. And one thing that happened to me that really struck a chord in me, and that's why I used to laugh when people say, I went for a course in Australia about 14 years ago. I was a younger officer in University of Wollongong. We were doing maritime security. So when I got to the airport, I now discovered my luggage was 23 kg, but one was more than 23 kg. So I now stepped aside and to try and remove. So immediately I opened my bag. I think the lady saw my white uniform and he said, "Are you in the Navy?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I came for training." "Oh, okay, close your bag." And that is the value people give their military. And that is the value also we're aiming at in Nigeria. Because of the sacrifices the military is making presently, there's a need for people to value and support the military. I think I'll stop at that.
Collateral damages are sometimes inevitable in military operations. Using this platform, how will you advise the people out there towards avoidance or reducing some of those damages?
Okay. Basically, the military, the police, and other agencies are instruments of government that are meant to protect people. It's not bandits or terrorists, because from the word terrorists, banditry, they are terrorists. They will protect you today and they will still come and terrorize you tomorrow. So I think it's better it sinks down to the local populace, and also community engagements, all the emirs, all the OBs, all the obas, and everybody down to local government chairman levels. We should sensitize people. We have a patriotic duty to defend our country, and the symbol of governance, either the local government or even different communities, the military. So there is a need to sensitize people that these people are here to protect you. You run towards them, don't run away from them. If you have any problem, you run towards them. If you have any information, you give them. Because the terrorists you are talking to, most of them are commercial terrorists. They just want to make some things from you, and they will still come and
I won't let you
you
go if you don't talk about the media. There's this debate on which is mightier, the pen or the sword. So what's your message in the aspect of, putting away misinformation in society?
In normal military operations, in lines of operations, the media is one of the lines of operations. We have operations, we have logistics, intelligence. The media is a line of operation in the military. So the media is part and parcel of military operations. And I want to urge the media, please, it's just a patriotic duty. Let's report the right things. And I know there are a lot of things you can't do about fake news, but wherever you have the power or the privilege to do it, the media is part and parcel, is one of the lines of operations in military planning campaigns. So the media is our friends, and right from I told you, CDS engages the media. So there's really nothing hidden, you understand? So the media is our friend, and I want to encourage you to continue to do the things you do.
Thank you so much, Rear Admiral Olusonya Bankole. He is the Chief of Defense, Civil Military Relations at the Defense Headquarters here in Abuja. Thank you for all you do, and we'll continue to give the support necessary. NTA always stands for national interest first.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the good work you do, the patriotic duty you do.
Ismail Musa, I'm still going to call you GOC anyway. Thank you so much.
I was telling him that maybe we'll find a way to upgrade him from GOC. I can't mention it.
Okay. Thank you very much. He's our defense correspondent here in NTA. And the conversation has been on improving civil-military relations in Nigeria. As a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you have a strategic patriotic role. Pray, respect the military as they continue to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria. And I give my salute. I'm Ruth Aguilera.